A qualified written request is written correspondence that a borrower or someone acting on their behalf can send to their mortgage servicer. Borrowers can send a qualified written request to request information about the servicing of their mortgage loan or to assert that the company has made an error. If a servicer receives a qualified written request from a borrower for information about an account, the servicer must reply within 5 business days after receiving the request. This initial reply is simply to notify the borrower that the request was received and that it will be reviewed. The only exception to this is if the servicer either answers the borrower's questions or takes care of the borrower's problems within the initial 5 business day period. The term qualified written request refers to written correspondence other than the notice on a payment coupon or any other payment medium supplied by the servicer. Essentially, this request will more than likely be a dispute of some aspect of the account, such as an error in the amount owed, rather than a simple change of address. This qualified written response must include the following: the name and account number, as well as a statement of the borrower's belief that the account is in error with supporting reasons, or sufficient detail about any other information the borrower desires. Now let's consider action with respect to the inquiry. No later than 30 to 45 business days after receiving a qualified written request from the borrower, and if applicable, before taking any action with respect to the inquiry, the servicer must make appropriate corrections in the account of the borrower, including the crediting of any late charges or penalties, and transmit to the borrower a written notification of the correction. This written notification must include the name and telephone number of a representative of the servicer who can provide assistance to the borrower, or, after conducting an investigation, the servicer must provide the borrower with a written explanation or clarification that includes, to the extent applicable, a statement of the servicer's reasons for concluding the account is correct and the name and telephone number of an employee, office, or department of the servicer that can provide assistance to the borrower, or information requested by the borrower, or an explanation of why the information requested is unavailable or cannot be obtained by the servicer, and the name and telephone number of an employee, office, or department of the servicer that can provide assistance to the borrower. The 5-day acknowledgement of the inquiry regarding the account and the 30 to 45 business day time limit for responding run at the same time, so there is not an advantage for a servicer to delay acknowledging the request since the 30 to 45 business day period to respond is running at the time the inquiry is received. The servicer is prohibited from providing information to a consumer reporting agency about any overdue payment relating to the period in which the servicer is investigating the borrower's claim. 12 CFR 1024.21E4 subsection 2 through F outlines the penalties and remedies for not abiding by the protection of the credit rule. In accordance with Section 17 of RESPA, the protection of credit rating provision of paragraph E4 subsection 1 of this section does not impede a lender or servicer from pursuing any of its remedies, including initiating foreclosure allowed by the underlying mortgage loan instruments. Whoever fails to comply with any provision of this section must be liable to the borrower for each failure in the following amounts. In the case of any action by an individual, an amount equal to the sum of any actual damages sustained by the individual as the result of the failure, and there is a pattern or practice of noncompliance with the requirements of the section, any additional damages in an amount not to exceed $1,000. In the case of a class action, an amount equal to the sum of any actual damages to each borrower in the class that result from the failure, and when there is a pattern or practice of noncompliance with the requirements of the section, any additional damages in an amount not greater than $1,000 for each class member. However, the total loan amount of any additional damages in a class action may not exceed the lesser of $500,000 or 1% the net worth of the servicer. In addition, in the case of any successful action under paragraph F of this section, the cost of any action and any reasonable attorney's fees incurred in connection with the action.